Hello class again, and welcome to this particular video, and in here we're going to be exploring how to convert from one particular prefix, which means a power of 10, to another prefix based on specific units. And when we talk about this, we're talking about what we talked about on our previous videos. And our previous videos we explored various things involving what our prefix is based on our bell work. And our bell work here for today is to be able to do the following, which is as follows. The lesson is to be able to convert from one prefix to another. And in here our goal is to be able to, I should be able to do the following. One, be able to recognize which prefix is bigger or smaller than the other. So which prefix is bigger or smaller than the other. And the other one is to be able to recognize by how much is one bigger or smaller than the other, so that you'll be able to know the operations to apply here. So know which operation and by what factor. Know what operation and by what factor. So take note that our factor here is the powers of 10. So all these too many words, please make sure you write that on your note for sure. And in here is, what are we talking about here? So what we're talking about is from our previous video, based on what we know about prefixes. Prefixes we talked about based on what we know is going from kilograms in here and then down to hectare, in this case, to, in this case, deca, and to our specific unit. And we know that our unit in here is labeled as 1, which is always 1 in this case, and the unit is either in terms of grams, which is a measure of mass, or a measure of our specific volume. It is in liters, and our measure of our specific, in this case, distance, is in meters. And in here we know that 1, which is our unit, is our suffix. So therefore, when you're able to go around being able to go from one prefix to another, it's all based on our suffix, which is the number 1. So please keep that in mind. And then anything less than our unit is known to be as follows. We know that we're going deci, to, next is centi, and then finally here it is milli. There are others lower than milli, but we're not going to talk about that for now. So from 10 to deci, we know that it is, in this case, deci is less than a unit by, in this case, 10. And centi is less than our specific unit by what? In this case, it is 100. And our milli, 2 units, our milli is smaller than our unit by what? 1,000. So in this case, what we're saying is this particular trend happening, and we talked about on the other side, our deca is bigger than our unit by 10, and our hectare is bigger than our unit by 100, and our kilo is bigger than our unit by 1,000. So in this case here, you will need, let's explain it properly here, you will need 10 units to get to deca. You will need 100 units to get to hectare. You will need 1,000 units to get to kilo. On the other side, you will need 10 deci to get to a unit. You will need 100 centi to get to 1 unit, and finally you will need 1,000 milli to get to 1 unit. So based on this, we're going to go through a couple of examples and look at what operations do we need to do to go from, take note, our givens to what are we finding. So based on going from big givens to finding, take note that anything that is bigger that is given and you're asked to find what is smaller in terms of the prefix, we need to multiply, take note of that, by tens. By how many tens? By how many tens are we talking about? And on the other hand, if you're given a smaller prefix to a bigger prefix, we are going to be dividing in terms of our operation by how many tens. And so this is going to be applicable when we first state how we are relating one specific prefix to another based on our unit. So first off, some of you might remember this particular pattern where first 10 milli units is equal to 1 centi unit. And next one is I will need 10 centi units to give me or to make 1 deci units. And next here is from deci to a unit, we need what? 10 deci units to give me 1 unit. Take note that our unit here is our suffix, so it could either be grams, or, meters, or liters. And so please keep that in mind. And then 10 units, we give you how many? 1 deca unit. This is an example where you have like 1 year to be equal to 10 years. That is one example. So, or sorry, 1 decade is equal to 10 years, or 10 years is equal to 1 decade, decade. So please keep that in mind. And then next here is 10 deca. We give you 1 hectare units, and finally 10 hectare units gives you 1 kilo unit. So please keep this pattern in mind. This pattern is really important when we are dealing with conversions, being able to go from kilos to hectare, or from kilo to units, or from deci to deca. All this needs to be recognized in order for we to be able to effectively do some conversion. So how are we going to apply this to various questions that will be given? So let's say, for example, you're given a question where you're asked to do the following. We know that on the regular case, we know that we have example 1, we're asked where we have 1 centimeter given measured, we're asked to convert to millimeters. So ignore the meters for now, which is in this case m, and we're just going to talk about centi, because meters is used to measure length, but in this case we're going to erase this and just focus on centi and milli, just to keep things consistent. So centi, and we are going to get how many milli is in 1 centi. Now to do that, we need to recognize this. We are going from bigger, that is your solution. We're going from bigger to smaller, because centi is bigger than milli. Therefore, when you're going from bigger to smaller, what are we doing? We're multiplying by how many tens. So based on this, you're going to multiply the number of centi, which is in this case 1, by, multiply by, it says here, how many tens? Now, in this case here, to go from centimeters to from centi to milli, we just need 10 only. So it means that we're going to multiply our centi, which is 1, by 10. And so therefore, we are going to get our answer in milli units to be 1 times 10 equals to 10 milli whatever unit you have. So it could be meters, or if it's grams for mass, then it is milligrams, or if it is in liters in terms of volume, it will be milliliters. So that is one way to go about it. How about you're asked to go the other way around? And in here we are asked that, hey, what if you're given 20? So example number 2 is, what if you're given 20 millimeters? In this case, let's just say milli units, and we're asked to go to centi. And in here, the big question is, what is bigger? We're going from milli, which is smaller based on what we have here. We know that milli is smaller than centi, so we are going from, in this case, small to big. So in here, this is from small to big. And to go from small to big, what operation are we doing with this number? The operation is we are doing division. So we're dividing this number, which is 20, keep that in mind, dividing it by how many? Milliliters, which makes centimeters. In this case here, 10 milliliters makes 1 centimeter. So 10 is going to be the factor that you're dividing. So therefore, 20 divided by 10 is equal to what? 2. And in here, our answer is in centi units, whatever units you have. So this is pretty straightforward based on being able to, one, recognize which unit in terms of the prefix is bigger than the other, and based on that you need to recognize by how many. Now let's look at bigger numbers or bigger prefixes. Let's say, for example, we're going from another example here. We're asked to go from 2 meters to centimeters. So in here we're looking at our unit for our measurement of the length to be in meters. So it means that where we know that m is the unit, which is, take note, meters, it means that we are playing around going from unit to centi, because this m here is also meters, and c is the short form for centi. So our question here is, which one is bigger, meter or centimeter? In this case here, we know that centi is smaller than unit, and we know that unit is our specific beginnings, therefore unit is bigger than centi. Another way to look at this is by using this right here. We know that on our scale, unit is bigger than centi, so in this case here we are going from bigger to smaller. Now in here we're going to do our solution. Since we know that we're going from bigger to smaller, take note that bigger to smaller relates really well to what we have right here. So it means we are multiplying our specific number, which is 2, by what? So in here we're multiplying 2 by how many tens? In this case here, since we're going from meter, which is unit, to centi, we not only have 1 10 here, factor what we see right here, going from unit, but we have to centi another 10. So we are multiplying these 2 tens, which means that we're getting 100. So it gives us, to get to 1 unit, we need 100 centi units. So another way to look at this is by using what we have right here. In here, we are going 10 and times 10 to get to a unit. So let's keep this in mind. Another way to look at this is by going from centimeters to decameter or deci. In this case, we're multiplying by 10, and from deci to units, we're multiplying by 10. So in this case, all we need is 100 centimeters to get to 1 meter. Therefore, in this case, to go from meters to centimeters, we'll multiply our 2 by a factor of 100. So in here, times 100, and that will give me 200 centimeters. So that is how you're able to go around converting from big to small and from small to big. You're going to go through various examples. Always ask yourself the question: 1, which one is bigger? And 2, by what factor? And this is a great guide to lead you through getting the final answer, either through this particular step or the other way around. So I hope you found this really interesting. Please hit a comment down below. Let me hear your thought, and also please do the specific practice questions. By that way, you can get yourself comfortable and fluent in terms of which one is bigger and smaller, and based on which one is bigger and smaller, you can know whether to multiply or divide by a specific factor of 10. All the same, stay smart as always and believe in yourselves.